not going to go, I'll use the buttons. So Australia already has a long history of trade and strong links internationally, and opportunities to develop these further. But at the same time, the forest sector has a number of challenges, both domestic and international, and these are some of them. So in the interest of time, I won't read them out, I'll go through the detail, but let's pick up a couple in the next slides. The resource base has changed a lot in Australia in recent times, and this shows the trends over about the last 15 years, with hardwood plantations increasing the most, but from a very low base, while access to native forests has really declined in terms of wood production purposes. So looking forward to 2050, what we expect to see is softwood supply to remain flat, and this is mainly used for structural timber, but there's likely to be a significant increase in hardwood supply from plantations, and mainly for pulpwood. So who's going to use the wood? One of the challenges for the sector, I think, is a big user is the housing industry and building houses, but this middle line here, shown in orange, shows a general decline or a slow decline in use in new houses being built. At the same time, imports have increased with a strong Australian dollar, making it cheaper to buy imported products from overseas. If we look at paper and paperboard, consumption has been relatively flat or declining in some markets, but we can see China increasing, again, from a very low base, but a potential to increase a lot more if we look at the red line at the base of this chart. So in this context, ABARES and the people in my branch decided to look at this idea of revealed comparative advantage. And in fact, it's revealed symmetric comparative advantage. And this comes to us from economic theory, and what it lets us look at is the specialisation of different economies and countries in different types of products. So what we did was to examine the current specialisation of APEC economies based on their exports of wood products. And we express this as an index, the RSCA index here. It's on a scale of -1 to +1. So if it's +1, it implies that a country or economy has a very strong advantage in production and export of a particular product. If it's -1, you have a very heavy dependence on imports. So the index is based only on trade flows. It doesn't take into account domestic production that's used domestically within an economy. So we applied this method to all the APEC economies, and we've written up the details in a report, an Outlook paper that's available with this conference. But some of the key results here are looking in the bold font, where Australia has a very strong advantage in chips and particles, plus 0.91. Another country like USA, for example, has plus in wood pulp. So the results of the analysis shows that Australia is specialised generally in low-value products, such as wood chips, while other APEC economies have put more emphasis on manufactured products. And remember, the index shows a point in time. It was based in 2009 data. It doesn't provide a future forecast. So the questions remain open about what the Australian industry should focus on and what might be the future opportunities and challenges for the sector. I'm conscious that I want to leave time for questions, and I'm sure people have some saved up, especially for Bjorn and for Michael. But what we also look through in the paper is a more forward-looking forecast, and based on some of the FAO work that's come out. And we look at what that means for wood fibre, for pulp, and for wood-based panels. Now, I don't want to talk through all the results now, as I say, but generally they show that Australia, China, and Japan and the USA are likely to remain net importers of sawn wood, for example. I will go back to one slide because it's quite interesting to show here the green line with China having a very heavy dependence on importing high-quality market pulp. And this sort of data presents an opportunity for Australia if it wants to get into that market, but it still has to compete with other APEC economies, such as Indonesia. And if we look at the top line, they have in general, on average across APEC, there's a strong advantage in that sector. So it's not a simple solution. So finally, I said I was going to leave some questions, and these are them. What is the long-term direction of the industry, and what direction does the industry want to go in? How can they maximise the value of the resources that we have? And finally, since we're a research organisation, what's the role of research, and what are the needs from providers such as ABARES and others to inform this decision or these plans? and I'll stop there.